Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson and Stephanie Phillips with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have a very exciting show for you, one of two today. Dedree D. Butler, Clark County District Court Judge, Department J, Family Division. But before we get to Judge Butler, Ms. Phillips.
Thank you, and thanks for joining us, everybody. And thank you to our sponsors. We have Dr. Ari Nagy. He's running for Congressional District 3. His website is nagyforcongress.com, and that's F-O-R, nagyforcongress.com. Jump on his website and see what his platform is all about. We also have Henderson's Mayor, Michelle Romero. She's running for re-election. Her website is votemichelleromero.com. votemichelleromero.com. Jump on her website and get in touch with her. We also have Cody K. Whipple. He's running for Congressional District 4, and his website is codykforcongress.com, codykforcongress.com, and that's the number 4. Get on his website and get in touch with him. Also, don't forget to grab your copy of Steve's book, How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System. If you are in family court and you don't have an attorney and can't afford one, this is a self-help book. You can get a copy on Amazon. It is $14.99, and it will help you navigate that system. Also, we have a merch store. It's VIPImerch.com, VIPImerch.com. We have all kinds of fun stuff on there for you to check out. And also, don't forget to grab your early bird tickets to our Valentine's Ball. It is February 7th of 2026, and we have early bird tickets on sale. You can jump on our Facebook pages. The links are there, and grab your tickets early before they go up again. No, I think I'll leave that out. For my rant, New York City. I don't know what y'all are thinking. Last night was an absolute travesty. I feel sorry for your city, the people who voted for Mamdani. He is a socialist. They should have had, instead of Republican and Democrat, they should have a socialist box and a party, because that's what he is. He wants to turn that city inside out. Free buses, government run grocery stores, rent control, all of this nonsense that does not work. Socialism does not work. We've seen it all around the world. So he needs a lesson in simple economics. Nothing is free because the taxpayers pay for it, just like all these illegal aliens that are on these SNAP benefits. 59% of SNAP benefits go to these illegal aliens. We, the American taxpayers, are paying for that. There is nothing free. So all of you who voted in New York, and I saw all these interviews with these people, why they wanted to vote for this guy. And they said, and of course, these are young people. They said, oh, he's young and he's a breath of fresh air and something new and different. And then they said, well, what policies do you like of his? Oh, we like the free bus system. Okay. That was it. So you guys, you're going to get what you voted for. And I feel sorry for your city. And it's an absolute pathetic decision. So anyway, I could go on, but that's it.
I thought I was going to do the rants today.
Well, you have one. You got the next show.
I thought it was going to be on this show.
Oh, sorry. You should have said something.
I was all ready. I stood up straight, sat up straight, and everything.
I couldn't help it because this was the most terrible thing. But anyway,
hopefully he'll surprise everybody.
Oh, he'll surprise everybody. All right. Yeah, that city is going to be destroyed completely. Anyway.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Butler.
How do I follow that? I would just like to say that this is a nonpartisan position and we all have differing views. I respect other views. I was pleasantly surprised and excited about the voter turnout. I love New York City and I'm excited about the possibilities.
Bronx, by the way. Bronx.
Okay. Cardi B over here from the Bronx.
I think I was in New York with Ed Koch. I just left when Ed Koch was mayor.
Okay.
Is that did I pronounce his name right? Ed Koch? Yeah,
something like that.
I think I
that was back in the day.
Yeah, it was back in the day.
Back in the day. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's when I left.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was in New York in 73.
It's exciting.
73 from 85, I was New York.
All right.
But, yeah, I love New York.
Been around.
Yankee Stadium. Yeah.
I love New York.
But Judge Butler, thank you so much for coming on the program. Could you give us a bio, please?
Of course. I am D. Smart Butler. I am your district court judge in the family division, Department J. I like to say J for joy, keep things positive. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Left at 18 years old, didn't look back. Went to Howard University, formerly called the Mecca, Washington, D.C. So I've had some East Coast moments. Lots of trips up to New York. Very excited about New York and everything going on the East Coast right now. But I did my undergrad, got an undergrad degree in psychology, Bachelor of Science, was on the track to do clinical psychology and a PhD program, and was in the honors program and all these things. And I feel like I just got really burned out. And so I took some time off after undergrad, started working, and I met all these lawyers doing different positions. I worked for, at the time, the president of the University of Missouri system, and learned that it's all the attorneys who are on the board of curators and who are making the decisions behind the scenes, and thought, well, maybe being a lawyer and going to law school is something for someone who's not quite sure that they're ready to progress to a PhD program. So I kind of just applied all over to cities that I thought maybe I would want to live in, learned, because I was looking at LA and Miami, all these nice, fun cities to live, New York, and learned that Las Vegas had a law school. I didn't even know. Boyd, applied to Boyd, early acceptance, basically canceled everything else. And in 2005, moved here to attend Boyd and have been here ever since. I was thinking maybe I'll just stay for law school. But of course, once you attend law school, you have the connections. I started with my first firm while I was in law school, actually clerking for Schutz and McGahey.
You got a Juris Doctorate at Boyd, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Impressive. Yes.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
You didn't mention that.
Passed the bar for
Yeah,
the first time.
Yeah.
And I was at my firm, Schutz and McGahey. And that was my first exposure to family court, because Damon Schutz, one of the partners there, while we primarily did insurance defense, he also took on some family cases. And anyone in Vegas around that time, around 2008, is when I obtained my license and was barred. That's also when we had the recession here. So a lot of our clients, unfortunately, couldn't pay, the financial burden for families going through divorce, also during the recession. So a lot of those cases were passed on to me and other first-year associates. And so I was able to meet some of our judges that were on the bench at that time, Potter, Ritchie, she's still there.
Potter.
Judge Boy. But anyway, after doing that, insurance defense was not really for me, but I really found an interest in helping people. And at the time, the public defender's office was hiring, met with Phil at the public defender's office, knew that they had an amazing training program for attorneys who actually wanted to litigate cases. At the time, they had an opening in the juvenile public defender's office. So I was able and selected to go to the juvenile public defender's office. But if anybody knows anything about Phil, he wants you to have actual jury trial experience. So I only stayed down there a couple of years, I want to say 2010 to 2012. Went back to the adult division, ultimately became the team chief of the domestic violence unit. And that's kind of the full circle moment back around, because on the DV unit, yes, we're dealing with those domestic violence cases, which are, of course, are emotional. Even the misdemeanors are violent because, a battery is a misdemeanor, but it's still deemed violent. So a lot of the clients, of course, you're entitled to effective counsel when you're charged with a crime, but that was not going to help them in family court. And of course, now, if you have a domestic violence case, particularly a conviction, a lot of clients want to know, how is this going to impact my custody case in family court? So that was kind of the pull back around to family court. I think I went through the whole history there.
Impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think, Ms. Phillips?
That was a lot. I think it's great. I was just thinking, when you go into family court, your courtroom is on the right there when you come in. There's like 4 courtrooms in that back in that corner, right? On the right.
So yes, now when you come into the lobby, we are over, yes, that would be the right, because of course we're going through the back. But now I started in domestic, of course. I ran in 2020. I believe everyone starts in domestic now. I actually really love the domestic cases. They call me a little crazy, but being a public defender, you're used to conflict. You're used to clients who in family court are typically our pro se litigants, self-represented litigants, and majority of our cases are pro se. So I actually felt like I liked helping people, guide them through the process. For instance, well, now we actually have the informal trial process, thanks to Judge Gordon for formalizing that. But before it was even formalized, I was really good at, when I have two self-represented litigants before me, let's just go off the record for a moment and talk about what you really want out of this case. Instead of having a whole trial, what do you want? What do you want? Because ultimately, getting two parents to make decisions about their kids versus dictating to them what they're going to do, the schedule, things that don't even necessarily make sense for them and their household, was always better. But yes, getting back to your question, now I am assigned to juvenile delinquency, which I love. So another full circle moment. I used to appear before Judge Voy when I was a juvenile public defender. And now I am in the exact same courtroom 18. And I tell Judge Voy, it's like you can still feel his spirit in there because he's been there so long. I know.
There's no spirit. He's alive.
I know he's alive and well, and he looks great. But he left such an impression on the juvenile delinquency world. I recall being there when I was appearing before him. So it's a great opportunity. And I handle a specialty calendar as well called our dual ward calendar. So for our kiddos in the Valley that are dually involved, they have a dependency case. So typically that's child abuse and neglect or abandonment, the dependency side of the house. And then unfortunately, they also have a delinquency case. So I'm the only person handling those cases, which are our most difficult.
Wow.
On Wednesdays. That's what I had today. So yes, but
how come you guys don't have the electronic little docket monitors outside your courtrooms?
Probably just old down there.
Yeah, they need to close that building and build a new one.
Yeah, that's
you guys
county. I mean, Chief Judge is trying to get a new building, but we just work with what we have for now.
Definitely need a new building.
That would be great. I'm sure.
That would be great. Do you support open courtroom transparency?
Yes.
We're going to have to go down there on a Wednesday to hear some of these cases. Are most of those types of cases sealed, or could we come down and?
Most of them are open because it's primarily the delinquency side. So coming from a criminal background, as you know, Mr. Sanson, we have media cases all the time, and judges would allow media in. And if there's sensitive information, for instance, with the kids, I just always put restrictions in place. And I find, as you know, the media is very respectful, particularly with the kids. Don't show their faces, do not identify them. A lot of parents are concerned about being identified and retaliation from the community because of what their kids did. So with those restrictions in place, yes, there's definitely the value of the community being involved in knowing what's going on and access to our cases. That's generally over any privacy concerns. We still get the objections all the time. As you know, we have the Falcone case, so the attorneys can state their factors, but most don't once the restrictions are in place, because that seems to cure any attorney's concerns. For instance, we had a case where there was confidential information that could have been damaging. So we just had a sidebar with everyone in the back and then allowed the media in for the other things. So yes, I support transparency in open courtrooms.
So when you came in, that was back in the days when Rena Hughes was in the seat, I believe, and you ran against her, right? And I remember seeing those protests and the videos, right, that you did way back when against her, and then that was your race, right?
That was my race.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite seats.
Yeah.
This
This
to
was
be
a
quite
big
honest
deal.
with you, because this was a big deal for veterans in politics about Rena Hughes and what she did and how we got this video and and then how we file complaints with the judicial discipline. That's when the Judicial Discipline Commission actually did something, but they don't do anything unless the media is involved.
Yeah. Now they're just a bunch of hypocrites.
But this seat is like one of my favorites. Not that the other seats are not my favorites, but this seat is one of my favorite because I feel like we had an actual hand in this, like Del Vecchio, who lost in the primary. Remember him, Vincent Del Vecchio?
I do.
And Rena Hughes lost in the primary, thanks to you.
So, well, quick
job.
story.
Yes.
It was, first of all, I had no intention on running for a judge at all. There was kind of a movement in 2020, and a lot of us public defenders said we complain a lot about our clients not getting the correct result. We complain a lot about how we're treated, especially how our clients are treated in court. Are we going to just keep sitting back and complain? Or are we going to actually do something about it and put our names on the ballot and at least try? And so that's what a group of us did, led primarily by my bestie, Belinda T. Harris, who kind of got all of us excited about running because I am more of the quiet, laid back person. I waited, I am, but I waited so late because family court, as you know, had the 6 open seats.
Mm-hmm.
I waited so late to make the decision. By the time I went to Tom Letigius, my campaign manager, his daughter and I, Harmony, we started in the PD's office together. She's really cool. But anyway, by the time I went to Tom, he says, all of my open seats are now full. I have candidates. And I'm like, he's like, but you can do this. You just have to run against someone. And it took me a while to make that decision. And for various reasons, that's,
Oh, she was softened up by the time. Yeah, we had her softened up.
Well, I had another opponent in the race who was actually
Scott McDonald, but we solely wanted to get rid of Rena Hughes no matter what, and we also went to they did the Judicial Discipline Commission in Reno because they knew a lot of people would attend, so they moved it to Reno. So I flew Mom, the litigant, in the whole that the whole video was about with her child. I flew Mom to Reno, and then I asked the Judicial Discipline Commission if I could film it. Filmed it, put it on YouTube, and I think that was great. We had to soften her up. Yeah, and she was one of the 2 that lost in the primary election, and I thought that was so wonderful.
Well, let me just say,
you know, I had bets on that race.
I didn't know about
Don't bet on
background.
races.
Well, I did have bets on the race and for Rena Hughes to lose. And that's
I didn't
exactly
know a
what
lot about the background at that time. What I will say is after the election and after, because you're so naive when you're running for judge for the first time, there's so much that goes beyond just sitting there trying to make a decision. There's case management issues, the caseload. And I will say that she was very, very kind to me on the back end. And there was a lot going on. She left everything for me. She could have wiped out all of her cases and had me start from scratch. She was available for any phone calls if I didn't understand things. So on the back end, I believe she was practicing for a little while with Abrams and had cases there. Always super friendly, very professional, courteous. I know some of my colleagues had some pretty nasty races, and that was not it at all. I was very fortunate to be in a friendly race with both of my opponents.
Oh, so
that was my personal experience.
Even though all of the protesting and all of, coming from veterans and politics.
I think.
Oh, okay.
That was all before that.
Yeah, but she had a short window. It was January to June because she was out of she didn't go into the general election.
Yeah.
So that was good. And I wanted to get you on here like years ago, Judge Butler. What happened?
Is this the first time that you've been on?
I am.
Oh,
so funny thing is now Tom's doing a radio show. He knows I'm terrified. And he was like, you have to do my radio show because I'm your campaign manager. I'll break you in. So that's literally the only other actual show that I've done, and that was just a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I promised you that if I did another one, I would certainly come here. So,
Well,
here.
we're glad and we're thankful that you came, and we encourage all the judges to come on because one of the main reasons is because the community and most voters don't know you guys.
Right.
And so to have this interaction and conversation and be able to present that to the public and let people hear about, just hear directly from you guys, I think that's a great way to connect because, as you know, I mean, everyone knows, people call us and people that are involved in politics and say, "Oh, who do I vote for judge? We don't know any of these people."
Right.
So,
and of course, I see you both out at events, but most of those events are for attorneys, judges are there, and like the community, like unions and people who are already involved. So
we're hands-on.
Yes.
Yes. Do you believe parental alienation is real?
Yes, it is definitely a real thing. Yes.
And what, as a judge, what would you do to kind of prevent it, to stop it, to slow it down?
I don't necessarily know judges can prevent parental alienation, but we have experts who will meet with litigants, who will do the counseling, and who will testify before us at evidentiary hearings with their actual opinion. And so I tell litigants all the time, I am not the expert when it comes to mental health. I'm not a psychologist. I didn't go that route. So I really listen to the experts. Sometimes we have competing experts and what they say. Now, when it's our self-represented litigants, sometimes they're doing this and pointing the finger at each other. So if we have an evidentiary hearing there without experts, it really comes down to credibility. I would have a lot of status checks on my cases, and I know that it's time consuming for litigants, but I always believe that the truth comes out over time. Those first couple hearings is really hard to see what's going on, who's the problem parent. A lot of times they're both problem parents because their dislike for each other is more important than the kid. But after a while, when you're months in and you see them coming back, it's hard to hide the actions. And that's when even self-represented litigants do an amazing job of, here are the text messages. Here's the evidence. This is what's actually going on. And of course, a lot of family court cases go on and on and on. We make a decision, come back. And so over months, over years, you start to see what the real issues are. So sometimes it does take time. I mean, we're just human. We're going off the information we're given. Some parents present really well in court. They're really well prepared. They watch all the videos. They do all the right things. And the other parent may not be the problem or the bad parent, to use that language, but they're just not as prepared. So when they come before us, the other parent seems to be winning based on the presentation of the argument. So that's why a lot of times it takes time. But we start with the presumption that this should be a joint physical custody case. And you have to show us something different to get us to go a different direction.
So you handle more than just juveniles, right?
I still have, so I started in domestic. I've only been doing delinquency for the last year. I still have a few domestic cases that I'm winding down. They're pretty much done, but yes.
So juvenile is going to be 100% your caseload?
Yes.
So you deal with the probation officers and the arrest. Explain all that to us.
Okay.
And explain domestic, juvenile, and dependency, the difference, because you guys.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So domestic cases deal primarily with divorces, custody cases for unmarried parents. We also did adoptions. You hear some termination of parental rights. But those are the primary cases, of course. Relocations, child support modification issues, all of that falls under the huge umbrella of domestic. Juvenile delinquency cases are dealing with children, minors who have been charged with offenses that would be crimes if they were adults. So because of their age, they're delinquent acts. Under that juvenile delinquency umbrella, though, we have different case types. So we have what's called our general calendar, which is everything from like possession of stolen vehicle, your burglaries, some of your robberies. the run-of-the-mill, I'll say, offenses. But we have a specialty calendar for juvenile sexual offenses. We have, which is one of our hardest calendars, which garners the most media, is our certification calendar. That's when the prosecutor is seeking transfer of a child to adult court for prosecution. And those are some of the hardest cases because you can have a murder or another death type case, but the child is younger than 16. So we have the discretion and we have to go over certain factors on whether we're going to certify the child, whether the prosecutor has met their burden. Ultimately, it's a clear and convincing standard, but those are some of the hardest decisions because, of course, once the child is transferred downtown, the exposure to time and being deemed a felon is much more likely.
How do you deal with repeat offenders?
So each case and each child is different. So it just depends on the circumstances. A lot of the worst cases with violent offenses, prior firearms, gang involvement, serious harm to someone in the community, a lot of those are the cases where the district attorneys pull and they're seeking certification.
To adults.
To adult court. So on certifications, the prosecutor has to show that they have prosecutive merit first, which is similar to at a prelim downtown. They're showing basically a probable cause standard, slight or marginal evidence to proceed. But then the decisional matrix comes where I have to decide to look at the nature and seriousness of the current allegations, because of course, every child is innocent, so proven guilty or today admit to something. But then I also look at the seriousness and persistency of their history in juvenile court. What services have we already provided? So if you've been on probation, you've done all the counseling, you've done all the classes, you've been to Spring Mountain Youth Camp, you've been to a youth correctional facility, you've maybe been to a youth correctional facility again, and you're still back, then those cases are more likely to be certified. But again, each case is different. Also, I have to review subjective factors. And usually that's the defense attorney saying, but look at these mitigating factors. This child has mental health issues. This child has a severe substance abuse problem. Maybe there was a burglary there, but this child is addicted to meth and fentanyl. And in juvenile court, we have the option for true drug treatment, substance abuse programs, even inpatient. Maybe it's more appropriate to do that, not a release back into the community immediately, but maybe it should be treatment focused and not just punitive. Because are we really doing a service to our community by prematurely sending kids to adult court and then just warehousing them somewhere when they're still children? And we all know the research, the science about the frontal lobe and everything not developing and boys being delayed compared to girls.
Girls at 25 and males at 30. I think that's what they say about your brain's fully grown. Have you had an opportunity to visit these facilities that these juveniles are in?
So, yes, as far as the detention facility and Child Haven that's here, unfortunately, when we get to the level where we do an assessment, typically a level of care, even a psychological evaluation, a neuropsych, any of the evaluations that suggest a residential treatment center is needed. The frustrating part and why I delayed wanting to move to juvenile delinquents, because having the background, I know that our resources are so limited here in the state. As always, we have Desert Willow. They can't take everyone. We have a few facilities here, but most of the residential treatment centers are out of state. So now we have to consider you're removing this child with severe issues from our community. Their parents are going to have extremely limited contact, and you're just sending them somewhere and depending on someone else, because we're the court, but there's the Department of Juvenile Justice Services and probation officers and parole officers who are charged with doing the site visits, making sure the reports get filed. But we're getting further removed from what's going on with the child unless we have an actual status check. And we do, but it's frustrating that we have so few resources here right in town for these kids.
So what's your stance on parental responsibility when it comes to their juvenile, when it comes to their children?
A lot of parents are really involved. I have kids where the parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, they are all packing the courtroom. A lot of parents express guilt. Like, I am so sorry. I had no idea my child was involved in this or had these new friends. So I think that parents take great responsibility and a lot of guilt when their children come to juvenile delinquency court. And I tell a lot of parents, listen, particularly on our older children, 16, 17, even 18, but the offense occurred when they were still a minor, that this is not necessarily on you. Your child, particularly the repeat cases, your child is making a choice, and we're here to put services in place to find out why they're making that choice. Now, we do need the parents to help and be involved and make sure your child is getting to the services and meeting with probation and everything. But a lot of parents are involved. Again, like on those dual ward cases or cases where unfortunately the parents don't feel that they're suitable to handle that child. Those are very difficult.
So what's your stand on?
Well, I want to go back to.
You want to go back
for just a little bit?
Huh.
The cases like, the kid, his first name was Jonathan. He was beat by a gang of kids at high school. Was it Rancho High School? Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And those, I believe they charged 4 kids, and they were going to charge them as adults, but I think 2 of them were brought back to juvenile. And I don't know if you were on that case. But those things are difficult. I mean, not only for the family, I can't imagine what the mother was thinking, and how she felt, but the public, because when the public sees things like that happen with a crime that was so egregious and outrageous, I don't understand how those kids can be taken, not charged as adults and brought down to juvenile court. How does that happen?
So once we certify, and I even have to put in every order that there are exceptions to certification, and the district court judge downtown does have the ability to send cases back to us if they deem it appropriate. I can't talk about a specific case. I did have one of the kiddos charged there. It's a very sad case. Yep. My colleague, Judge Linda Marquis, she's actually the lead now in juvenile delinquency. So I know, and I believe that was right as I was coming in or right before. So I know that there was a certification there, but we cannot control another judge's decision. We have to trust that what's presented to them, typically from the prosecutor and the defense attorney, some of these are already resolved, or there's stipulations that's going on, and they present that to the court. And I'll speak for myself. A lot of times it makes sense to follow the stipulations and negotiations because we're not privy to what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know whether the prosecutor has issues with their case. We don't know the defense attorney believes that they have a likelihood of being successful at trial. There's a lot that we do not know. So the attorneys, as officers of the court, a lot of times we're trusting that they're both making the right decision. If everyone's doing their job correctly, there should be justice. I may question some things, ask the attorneys to come up and have a sidebar to explain what's going on. But as far as a case coming back to us, that can happen.
So you don't get all the back, they're making deals over there and, all that. So you're not privy to any of the notes or anything, what happened. They don't share any of that. You just get the case back on your desk and that's it. And you deal with it from there.
That can happen. We are likely not privy to all the back decisions on what's happening. And we shouldn't be, because we need to remain neutral. And then we're doing the next part in juvenile delinquency court as far as the consequences. And we shouldn't have information that could have us go one way or the other. Now, sometimes both the prosecutor or the defense attorney will explain some things that's necessary. As long as they're both there, they're involved in that conversation, then great.
So what's your philosophy on rehabilitation versus accountability?
I think there can be both. Both can be true. It's very challenging for kids to even understand. And that's why I like that you both actually do court observation so that you can see what's happening in the courtroom. With kids, it takes a longer time to even go through the canvas of them understanding that you're giving up your constitutional right to have a trial regarding a plea, and you have the right to remain silent, and just getting them to understand their rights. And I know that their attorney talks to them beforehand, but a lot of times the kids are looking like, what is going on? But a lot of kids are really, really honest and take accountability quickly. I did it. you're still a child. There's that innocence there. They're not so concerned about, my Miranda rights and my attorney told me to be quiet. They really want to take responsibility so they can move on. They're still thinking because they're children. They're thinking like children. Just get me to the next step. If they're detained, I just want to go home. So there's more responsibility, I would say, for the attorneys in juvenile court, us as judicial officers, to make sure the children really understand. I try to be incredibly patient because some attorneys feel that the child is my client, not the parent. But your parent, as a parent, and I'm a parent, I didn't say that. I'm a wife. I have 3 kids and 3 dogs.
Oh.
But anyway, as a parent, I understand the frustration with the system and you don't know what's going on and your child is taking a plea and facing consequences and they're detained and you want them to come home. So I try to be really patient and explain what's going on. Accountability is not really the issue, it's the rehabilitation part. And I truly believe that. And there's a lot of studies, particularly on our juvenile sex offense cases, because there's treatment that's typically recommended for 36 months on those cases with comprehensive sex offense specific treatment. And the numbers are really, really good. Catching children when they're young, putting those services in place when they're young so that they can learn those boundaries and the things so that they do not become offenders when they're adults.
Do truancy officers appear in your courtroom?
No. So we do have diversion courts. And let me just say this. We have hearing masters that handle the detention hearings and more of the minor things. When you're before me in juvenile court, you're there on a serious felony, a sex case, a certification, or some sort of objection. So we also do things like the hearing masters will hear a child's petition for emancipation. Usually they want to work, don't want parents to be involved with their money or something like that. There's TPOs against minors. There's work permit applications. So anytime there's an objection to anything the commissioners, formerly hearing masters, hear, then we hear those matters too. It's a lot.
How often do you have TPR cases and hearings?
I do not now on this end, but I hear a lot about it on the dual ward calendar. So usually one of my first questions is, well, what's going on the dependency side of the case? A lot of cases, parents are actually working their case plans and the goal is reunification. It's just getting there. And when there has been a termination, then that's when we have to deal with a lot of the placement issues. On the domestic side, interestingly, termination cases are the worst on the domestic side. When a parent would come in and say, I am trying to terminate this other parent's rights, I really look closely at the situation because you are ending a parent's relationship with their child. And that is not something that I ever want to do. And what is going on that's so terrible that this can't just be a primary custody or a sole custody with requirements in place? In my courtroom with domestic, those termination cases were really rare. Now, I did have litigants at times get so frustrated with the other parent where they may say, fine, just terminate my rights. But I would never make a decision like that out of someone saying a remark in the heat of the moment. I understand the frustration. I understand the passion. I feel if you're going to get upset about anything, then fight for your kids in court.
What's the threshold that it has to reach in order for you to say, okay, yes, that would be terminated? Because it's so terrible. That's just a terrible thing.
Typically, those are the cases with serious substance abuse, like years long, failed treatment, those cases where there may be CPS involvement because maybe parents using in front of the child, driving under the influence with the child in the back, but this is prolonged over years type behavior. Sometimes the other parent is really protective and doesn't want to deal with the court system and bring these issues to light. But then there's another case, like a criminal case or an accident or something, or CPS involvement generally, and now it can't be ignored. There are some abandonment cases where there, unfortunately, are some parents that are just like, I do not want to have a relationship with this child. I didn't want the relationship with the mother. So those are difficult because typically those people have their minds made up. Terminate my rights. Unfortunately, and it's really frustrating when it comes down to money. I would rather not be this child's parent than owe this other parent child support.
Wow.
So that
That's
termination of parental rights, that child support obligation is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I had a
Wow.
beautiful case though that the parents were in that very bad space years before me. And I get the case where they're undoing the termination. And I went to some of my older colleagues like, have you undone a termination before? And we had a hearing and everything, but they had actually, the child's teenager reached out to the other parent. And such a beautiful story. They developed their own relationship. And then she wanted the legal part as well. And so that was a very beautiful story, undoing a termination. The parent just happened to be the father.
Even do a termination?
Yes, because
I've never heard of one of those.
And neither had I. But the child reached out to him much older, as a teenager, on her own. And wanted a relationship, and they started developing their relationship. Mom was on board with it, and the conflict between the parents had died down.
How about back child support? Was that?
So they actually were able to reach an agreement because he's like, I'm doing much better now, whatever this child needs. And I was able to help them reach an agreement regarding a stipulated amount for the back amount and then how much he would give going forward. But again, with a teenager, they were able to resolve so that that money was actually going to her. So, wow.
So how do you balance public safety versus second chances?
That's the key there. So that's why we have the guidelines on what to look at. Of course, the more serious the offense, firearms cases, I have to look more at public safety, protecting our community. We have victims who show in court and give their victim impact statements. And we also have the history of the child and whether services have worked. So as long as everything is evaluated, I don't have a problem saying that this child needs a timeout from our community because nothing in the community is working. And you cannot be in the community victimizing people. And I'll often hear stories from kids where, well, someone did this to me, or I'm hurt, or I don't have a family that loves me. And while I have all the compassion in the world for that, it does not give you the right to go victimize someone else, particularly in a violent way in our community. And there are children in really bad situations, abuse and everything, and they do not choose to then go out and hurt someone else. So I thought that it would be really difficult to look at more of the punitive end. But when you see the cases and you see the harm that's caused, particularly the violence to people, the violence to elderly people in our community, for instance, elderly people getting beat down over a purse or, getting pistol whipped, and you're looking at the pictures, then it makes it easier to say, okay, this is going to swing this way on this case at this time for public safety, of course, versus just putting the child back in the community without identifying what services. And in juvenile court, we have good programs. Spring Mountain Youth Camp, we're not talking about our kids going anywhere typically for a very long time. The programs are based on their progress. They have great programming. Spring Mountain Youth Camp has a forestry program.
Where's that?
The kitchen at Mount Charleston.
Ah.
Right.
Didn't
so
they
they're
used to
right
have
there.
A boot camp program and then they got rid of it?
Yes.
What did they get rid of the boot camp program?
The boot camp program that I'm most familiar with was down in adult court for the young adults. So
what was that called?
Boot camp.
Oh, it was
like
actually
a military
called
boot camp.
There's
program.
another one too, isn't there? Other than spring, you mentioned it.
They
earlier,
used to have a couple programs, and while I was not around, things happened to them. I think there was a program, rites of passage and other things. But right now, we primarily have the camp, and then there's 3 facilities that are run by the state and the parole division: Caliente, Elko, and then right here in North Las Vegas, Summit View.
How can we get back the boot camp program? I heard it was working.
So that's where we have the separation from the court, and then DJJS, which is the Division of Juvenile Justice Services. So that would be a conversation with them and our
'Cause
partners.
those military programs for these juveniles, they work.
And you know what else?
Snap
works?
them right back up.
I do have kids that sometimes, and particularly on more minor offenses, they'll have a recruiter already, like working
good.
with the
Real
attorneys,
military.
and they are and they are really motivated. You know, almost 18 or turning 18, 19, and they're really motivated about trying to change their lives and get into the military.
You know, back in the Vietnam days, they said.
No, I don't know.
I just said, I don't know.
Wait till you.
No, go ahead.
Military or a prison? Pick.
Yeah.
So, but you know, people were telling me that the boot camp program was gone. I'm like, what do you mean the boot camp program is
We
gone?
need to go pay a visit to that group, that department.
So we need the boot camp program back again.
They will welcome you.
I think I'll help run that doggone thing.
Okay.
Be the
Yeah.
drill sergeant.
Yeah.
They'll have to vet you out, do your background checks and all that.
Oh, I passed my background.
I'm sure.
Miss Phillips, do you have anything else for Judge Butler?
Well, we could talk all night, but
We could.
we've got another show. So.
Yeah,
Go
the other show is calling me right now.
Oh.
Judge Butler, do you have anything else you'd like to
I
say?
just want to thank you both for your time. I know that you work hard. We see you online. We see you out at events. You're doing the work. You're showing up in court. So thank
doing
you for
God's work.
having me. Well, they're doing someone's work. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you for having me. And I appreciate diverse perspectives, and I appreciate it. And I know I've had a lot of support. We've always been able to talk freely whenever we don't agree. But I'll go back to the New York situation because we have a different view on that. I love the voter interest and the voter turnout. So here, and I know that you often talk about voter education and you want things to change, get out there and vote. And so that's what I'll say. You'll have almost all of your judges on the ballot next year in 2026. And so make sure that you go vote and you be heard. And my hope is that I can continue to serve the Clark County, Nevada community.
Well, I was going to say, Mark's going to zoom in on you and you could say
Oh.
your final words. Vote for me. Dedree Butler, judge, family, whatever you want to say, my point of contact, whatever you want to say.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Dee Butler again, District Court Family Division, Department J. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your support. I appreciate the opportunity to serve our community, and I hope I have the opportunity to continue serving our community in family court. We need judges who are compassionate and who will look out for our families here in our valley. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Judge Butler.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips.
Thank
Folks,
you.
that's Dedree D. Butler, Clark County District Court Judge, Department J, Family Division. We hope that this program has been educational for you. So when you go to the voting booth, you'll be an educated voter. And that's all we want to do is educate the voting public. This is Steve Sampson, Stephanie Phillips with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.